greed, for example. I'm able to stop myself from wanting to buy everything. There's impulsive shopping or buying. You can't stop yourself because you're looking for that good feeling when you purchase something. Again, that's an emotion that's controlling you. It's driving your decisions. It's what is making you move in life instead of you deciding whether this is something that you want to do or not. If you take something that just calms you down and plays around with your emotions, you're really not developing yourself. You're not strengthening that willpower. So if you're weak in one area and you're not working on it, you're going to remain weak in the other areas as well. So a better approach is to have that self-development where you strengthen your will so that you yourself are able to control your emotions. And that's why if you look at the books of akhlaq, for example, or spirituality in Islam, even though in traditional medicine there were a lot of different types of medications that the Muslims were aware about that would calm you down, for example, I'm just using this example so I don't have to discuss all the details of other emotions, they did not recommend you to alter your emotional state through changing the chemicals in your body. Yes, they might have advised for you to eat certain foods or to take in certain herbs or drinks that help you calm down, help you relax, but that was just a supporter. It wasn't the main thing that you had to rely on. Also, in traditional Islamic sciences, the Muslim scholars were aware of certain types of music that would help alter your emotions as well. So if you're going through anger issues, there were certain types of melodies that were played to calm you down. If you're someone who was calm, there were certain types of melodies that were played to make you a bit more, or to increase your anger. Now, anger is very general. It doesn't mean that you go and yell at somebody. Anger is that thing that allows you to move and overcome your weaknesses and shortcomings. So if somebody attacks your house, for example, in order to get up and to defend your house, you need that anger emotion, right? You can't just be too relaxed and too cool and you won't get up, right? So you need to strengthen that. What makes you get up to go to work every single day? It's that anger. So anger is a general category. Including in it is that yelling and screaming. But anger does not equal that. It's an emotion that has many other emotions that go under it. So they would play certain types of music that would allow you to change that. And that was a form of therapy that they used as a supportive therapy. It wasn't the main therapy. Because they know that as soon as that music is turned off, you might return to your state pretty quickly. So it's not a permanent solution to my emotional problems. What I have to do to resolve my emotional problems is to make that internal change by strengthening my willpower. So in addition to those, the main attention was focused on you remedying your problems through self-change. You have to. No scholar in Islam who wrote on ethics and self-change did not emphasize the necessity of making that change internal through your own effort. You have to do that. You can't rely on external things to change you because that's not really changing you. That's only influencing you by changing the chemical balances in your body. If you really want change, then you have to strengthen your willpower. There's no other way to do it if you want to change. If you just want to be influenced in your life by other things, then yes, you can rely on certain chemicals or certain pills or certain things to change that. But really, it's not you who's changing from inside. You're just being influenced by these external factors. So this change would usually happen through self-struggle. For example, if you do have issues when you're angry, then it's recommended that you find certain solutions to that by fighting that emotion itself. So for example, you could take an extreme approach and completely decide that I'm not going to be angry at anything anymore. If you're someone who has arrogance, for example, arrogance is also a problem. When you see other people as less than you, and this is a disease, a spiritual disease in Islam, that you have to get rid of because it stands in the way of self-improvement. If you are someone who sees yourself as better than other people and you look down on others, then you have to start humbling yourself, because this arrogance will drive you into making mistakes in your life and destroying your internal self. So you have to begin to make changes. It has to be an active change. You have to start being kind to people who you usually see as below or less than yourself. If you think, for example, that your race is more superior than others, now whether you believe that consciously or subconsciously, because a lot of people will claim that, you know, I'm not a racist, I don't have problems with other races. But if somebody from a different color comes to them, they would treat them very differently. They won't treat them the same. Now, this is something that we have to be aware of. We can't lie to ourselves and say that, no, I'm okay with everybody. But if somebody from a different color comes to ask for a job, for example, at my business, I tend not to hire them. I was at another center the other day, and there was a Muslim brother from the African American community, and he had a grandson. They live here in Dearborn. And so one of the brothers asked him, you know, is your grandson working? And he said, no, he's not working. And he told him why, you know, he should be working. He said, well, it's very hard for someone of his color in this community to find a job, even though he's a Muslim. And he also belongs to the Shia school of thought. But it's true. It is true. We do have this passive sort of racism as well that we're not very aware of at times. And this is the result of seeing yourself as higher than other people. It is, whether you're aware of it on the outside or you're not. And situations like this make you more aware. You have to see yourself. You have to have this self-reflection. When you deal with people, when you talk to people, when you're outside at the shopping center, or you're on the street, or you're at a cafe, is your behavior with people, does it differ from one to the other? Now, sometimes it's not wrong to have different types of behavior with different types of people. If you're dealing with an arrogant person, of course you're going to deal with them in a different way than you would deal with someone who is not arrogant. With the arrogant person, you don't want to be too humble, because if you're humble with an arrogant person, then they're going to take advantage of you, right? So you can't be the same with every single individual. But if you're dealing with somebody who doesn't have that arrogance, someone you don't even know, and you realize that based on their clothing, you started dealing with them very differently. You don't talk to them with the same respect. If someone who's wealthy comes to you, or someone who's notable, someone who's known, a politician, for example, a mayor, someone who has a business, and someone who has a wealthy lifestyle, a mansion, and you find yourself greeting them in a much better way than you would greet someone who comes with a car that's hardly moving, or someone with a small house. If you have that type of behavior and you deal with people differently in that way, then you have to realize that there are certain spiritual diseases that you have that you might not be aware of. And these are very dangerous. And we have to pay attention to those, because these are not visible things. If I have a change of color on my skin, I might immediately know that there's something wrong with my body, because the change is visible. And usually physical ailments, they're easier to detect than spiritual ones. Spiritual ailments are subtle. Spiritual diseases are hidden. We have to use self-reflection and think about how we behave on a daily basis in order to pinpoint exactly what's going on with us. What is it that I'm suffering from? Maybe a lot of the causes of my unhappiness in life is because I'm someone who is not thankful for what I have. I'm not a content individual. I'm someone who's always looking to fill my life with things, and I have this never-ending desire to own things, for example. Maybe this is the cause of some of the unhappiness in my life. So we have to do some self-reflection. We have to sit down and think about, what is it that's controlling me? What are the emotions that are causing me issues in my life? Am I someone who's miserable because I'm always angry at myself or angry at other people? This causes misery in your life. If you're always angry, then you're always in a state of misery. You're never happy. And it affects you. It affects you spiritually, and the effect also goes on to affect you physically as well. So these are things that we have to always keep ourselves aware of. And if we listen to a lecture like this, or read a book that talks about this stuff, it's not just enough to educate ourselves about it. Education is the first step. You have to know something first, and then you have to act on it. That's the most important part. So if I learn something, I have to begin implementing it in my life. And there's no quick fix to these things. It's something that you have to do on a daily basis. If you want to see change, then you have to have this daily work on yourself. Maybe if you can't do it every single day, at least every single week, have a checkpoint in your life where you evaluate where you are at. You have to do this. Otherwise, you won't change. A lot of people come and say, they have questions, like, I have a certain issue, and I need to change it. I was at the conference in Chicago, and one of the brothers came and said, I want to focus more. I can't focus. Every time I stand at my salat, I realize that I can't focus there. How can I change this? Well, the issue isn't that he can't focus only in salat. Salat is where that problem comes out, because you're standing there, right? You're not moving. You're not occupied with anything else. You're not distracting yourself with something. So you're forced to start seeing things that you're not aware of in your day-to-day activities. When I'm talking now, I won't realize that I'm not focused because I'm distracted by speaking. When I'm driving, I'm distracted. When I'm eating, I'm distracted. When I'm watching TV, I'm distracted. When I'm on the computer, I'm distracted. But when I stand for salat, I'm frozen, right? This is where I start finding out that, wait a second, I have a focus issue. I have too many thoughts in my mind. Now, this is occurring every single moment in your day. You just don't realize it. You only realize it there because you stop, you freeze. So salat brings out this problem. So the problem isn't your focus on salat. Your problem is focus in your life. You have a problem because your thoughts are chaotic in your mind. So it brings it out. Now, he was asking for a quick fix. You can't have a quick fix for that. It's not realistic. If you want to make a change in your life, you have to be realistic about how long that change will take to happen. Otherwise, you're going to go into despair. You're going to lose hope. And you're going to start saying to yourself, I'm a failure, my life is messed up, I can't change, if your expectation is not real. If you think that you can change the focus problem in one day, then you're going to end up losing hope and falling into despair. You have to be realistic. You have to give yourself realistic goals. It might take you a month to change a little bit. It might take you a year. But be real with yourself. And don't worry about thinking it might take 1 year to change my focus problem. Don't think it's too long of a time. Because if you change it in a year, then you will live a better life after that, right? But if you decide that this is too long and I'm not going to change it, then you're going to spend your whole life in this problem and you're never going to get out of it. So this is, inshallah, something that we can keep in mind. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأشهد أن محمدا أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون اللهم صل على محمد خاتم النبيين وسيد المرسلين وصل يا ربي على علي أمير المؤمنين وعلى فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين وعلى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة أجمعين. اللهم صل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة القائم المهدي عجل الله تعالى فرجه وسهل مخرجه وجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه والذابين عنه. When it comes to social issues, and inshallah I'm going to make this second sermon summarized because I don't want to take too much of your time. I know I extended the first one. When it comes to social issues and social conduct, one of the great resources that we have as followers of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Ahlul Bayt, his family, is a letter that Imam Ali alayhi salam had sent to the governor that he appointed in Egypt. This governor's name was Malik al-Ashtar. He had appointed him, and he had sent him a letter teaching him how to conduct himself with his subjects, the people that are under his government and under his rule. This is a great letter to read. And even though we're not governors, there's a lot of advice that the Imam gives Malik that we can take and implement in our lives. It is in this letter that the Imam tells Malik that the people are one of two things. They're either your brothers in religion or you're equal in humanity. This is a golden statement that if we take and apply into our lives, we would realize that it would elevate us as a community and as Muslims. That we treat others either our brothers and sisters in religion, and if they don't belong to our religion, then they're humans. They're equal to us in this humanity. So it's advisable that everybody takes a look at this letter. And I wanted to go over a few sections when it comes to the Imam advising Malik, teaching him how to treat other people, how to deal with those who are under his authority and command. Because life in general has this hierarchical relationship between people. I might not be a governor who rules a state, but I might be someone who has a family, and I'm a father. I have authority or some type of authority over my children. I might be a boss at work who has power over my employees. Now, of course, there's always going to be ways to abuse this type of power. Whether I'm a president of a country, I'm a boss at work, or I'm a father of a family. And I can abuse my power within the system, and I can remain in power as well. So it's not about abusing this power and not being caught. And that would justify, or at least say that because I wasn't caught, then I must have not done something wrong. I was doing something right. That's not the criteria that we use. We could be abusive individuals and maintain that position because the system does not correct this type of abuse. So for example, if we have presidents in this country who abuse their type of power, it doesn't mean that these presidents are immediately thrown out and replaced by someone else. The system is much more complex than that. And the same thing when it comes to family. If I have children and I'm in charge of them and I have authority over them, especially when they're younger, it's very hard for people to see that this person is abusive because it happens within the confinement of that house. So it's important for us to read letters like this. We might not think that it applies to us. But a lot of what the Imam is teaching Malik in this letter is something that we should take because we deal with subjects meaning people that are under our authority, on a daily basis. So I'm going to take a few sections and just share, a few segments that the Imam alayhi salam uses to teach Malik, who has power and authority. So remember, Malik was a companion of the Imam. Now, he was appointed as a governor over people. Overnight, he changed from a subject who was under the command of someone else to becoming a ruler and governor over people. Now he has authority. He has power to implement things over people. So this change is a massive change in the individual's life. One day you don't have control over people, and one day you wake up, and suddenly thousands of people are under your command. This is not a simple change. So if you're not self-trained, if you're not someone who's pure and close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then there's always a fear that you're going to act unjust. You're going to oppress other people. So the Imam is aware of this, even though he chose Malik knowing that Malik is the best candidate for this position. But even the best candidate needs reminders. Even the best candidate could turn from a very good individual into a very evil individual because of the change of circumstances. I might be a good believer when all I am is an employee at one of the corporations. I can be a very good woman. But as soon as you give me a managerial position, I cannot handle that. I become someone who's evil, someone who's oppressive, because I haven't changed myself to the point where I can handle such a responsibility. So even though the Imam appointed Malik, knowing that he is the best candidate to become a governor and rule over Egypt, he made sure to send Malik advice, how to treat people, because you could change as an individual. You could become someone who you weren't the day before. So the Imam, for example, here says to Malik, he tells him, infuse your heart with mercy for the subjects, for the people that are under your command. Infuse your heart with mercy. Just because you have power to control now and to put people in prison and to implement certain punishments does not mean that you should become a rigid and strict person, justifying it by saying that I want to keep rule and order in my country. You have to always deal with your subjects with mercy. And now you have to even be more merciful towards people because you have that power and because there's that chance of you abusing that power. Love for them, infuse your heart with mercy for the subjects, love for them, and kindness towards them. See, the Imam is reminding him that this position that you're taking is gonna most likely do the exact opposite of that. Remind yourself. You have to have mercy towards those who are under your control. You have to have love. When you deal with the differences and your country and your citizens, you have to have love towards that people. Someone who deals with someone out of love is different than someone who deals with them out of power and control. And kindness towards them. Be not like a beast of prey above them, seeking to devour them. Now that you have power and you have these weak individuals who are under you, you become like a beast who seeks to devour them. For they are of two types, either your brother in religion or your equal or like in creation. And look at how the Imam here is trying to explain to Malik. He says, mistakes slip from them. They're going to make mistakes. Don't expect your subjects to behave perfectly. Sometimes, if we have a child or someone who is under our control, we expect them to behave in a perfect way, that they cannot make mistakes. I don't want my child to make mistakes in the house. Here the Imam is telling him mistakes slip from them. Defects emerge from them, deliberately or accidentally. Sometimes you might make a mistake and you're deliberate in that mistake. Sometimes you make a mistake and it's an accident. So how do you deal with this? Because you might say, see, the Imam is very careful of these nuances. He didn't say mistakes slip from them and went quiet there, because you could have come and said, or Malik could have thought, and this is how the shaitan comes and plays with the mind. Well, if it's an accident mistake, okay, but some people are deliberate in their mistakes. And those are the people I'm punishing. And then you start saying that every mistake is deliberate. You don't see that one may be accidental. So the Imam is pointing out this nuance so that he doesn't leave room for Malik to assume that it might be something deliberate and therefore I can justify my punishment. So he says mistakes slip from them, defects emerge from them, deliberately or accidentally. So bestow upon them your forgiveness and your pardon. And now he uses a psychological method to make Malik understand why he should do that and create a certain movement in his heart. He tells Malik his people who make mistakes and have defects, whether they're deliberate, on purpose, or by accident, forgive them, bestow upon them forgiveness and pardon, just as you would have God bestow upon you his forgiveness and pardon. For you are above them, and the one who has authority over you is above you, and God is above him who appointed you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above you, and above Malik is Imam Ali. Imam Ali is the one who appointed him, right? So just you also have someone who is above you. And just like you might slip and make a mistake sometimes, you would wish that that person above you would pardon you, right? And you would wish that the person above, the person who appointed you, who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you would wish that he would forgive you for mistakes, even when you make deliberate mistakes, right? You don't ask for forgiveness only for mistakes that happen accidentally. Even when you're deliberate, you say, Allah, I'm weak, I'm a human being, I made a mistake, I made wrong decisions, please forgive me, right? Even though you did it deliberately. So the way you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to deal with your mistakes, and let's say you don't believe in Allah, then at least the person who's above you, who appointed you, how do you want them to treat you when you make mistakes? That's how you should treat your own subjects. He expects you to satisfy their needs, and through them, he tests you. Talking about God. God expects you to satisfy the needs of the people that are under your control. And he expects you, and he tests you through them. So this is one segment. The letter to Malik al-Ashtar has been translated in a very good translation by an author named Riza Shah Kazemi in a book titled Justice and Remembrance. It's a book that he wrote about Imam Ali alayhi salam. At the end of the book is the full translation of the letter. I'm just mentioning this for people to go home. You can read, download. I would recommend buying this whole book. It's a beautiful book. Talks about the concept of justice in Imam Ali alayhi salam's thought and behavior, and remembrance as well. It's a very, very beautiful book. If you don't want to read the whole book, then at least read this letter once in your lifetime. Just read it, and see what the Imam has to teach us. He talks about many things, including congregational prayer, for example. He teaches Malik even how to pray with the people. He tells them not to prolong the prayer so long so that people become tired of it and don't want to join the jama'ah, and not to make it short so as to lose the meaning of prayer. So even things like this, the Imam was pointing out to him, how to find that balance in life. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to assist us in finding the internal balance by learning from our guides, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi and the Imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin.